Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Let me know in chat if you guys can hear me okay, and we'll go ahead and get started here. Do an audio check here. There we go. Audio's good. All right. Welcome in, guys, to a severe weather briefing here for Indiana. We're talking Monday and also for Tuesday. We're going to talk about time frames, hazards, and areas to watch for this potential severe threat. Who's in chat here? We got Julie, Dawn, Joanne, Rick. All right, thank you, guys. Appreciate the thumbs up there in chat for my audio. Let me know where you're watching from, guys. Curious to see how far our videos get. But I'm not going to waste time here. I'm going to dive right into the forecast. If you guys got questions, feel free to ask them in chat, and I will go ahead and scroll back and get back to them all once I'm done giving you guys the walkthrough here. So, starting with the overall outlook here on your screen, this is the SPC forecast. Not for Indiana specifically, but for our friends out west, there is a moderate risk in place across Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. That's the red zone. In the orange zone around it is an enhanced risk. It's level 3 out of 5. That includes places like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, northern Illinois, Missouri. Even parts of western Michigan are there as well. Going into the hazards tomorrow, though, tornadoes, some could be strong across those regions. Wind as well as hail. Taking a look in here directly at Indiana, though, for that Monday time frame, we're going to notice one thing in particular, and that is the risk on Monday is confined to that northwest part of the state. Hazards for the SPC, here they go. Tornadoes, not likely. There's a thin sliver up by Gary within a tornadic risk there. Going into the wind here, we do have a 5% probability here for wind across South Bend down toward about Lafayette and points to the north and west. And then as we move into the hail risk, same exact areas apply there, a low probability of 5% for hail. I think Tuesday really is the day to watch here for severe weather. The SPC having the entire state of Indiana in a severe risk here. In yellow is your level 2 out of a scale of 5. It's called a slight risk. Pretty much the entire state, minus Gary, minus South Bend up there in the far northwest corner. There's still a risk for severe weather. It's just a little bit lower, level 1 risk called a marginal in place there for areas in dark green. So in terms of the time frame and hazards, locations, all that jazz, I do think Monday is going to be dry across Indiana, and I say that for a reason here. Looking at the model here, that this evening into tomorrow morning here, Monday, notice this is your future radar here. Some scattered showers, going on across Illinois, Wisconsin. But Indiana, here's 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. It's clear skies. There's nothing on radar here in the entire region. We are clear and set for a beautiful, warm, but also a little bit muggy day out there for tomorrow. So just because we get through the morning and afternoon and evening and we have no storms, don't think that the risk is over, because the risk is not over, and the risk comes later on overnight. All right, so as we move into the overnight hours, we're going to start noticing some showers and storms developing off to our west there for Wisconsin. Overall, though, here's 8 p.m. tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, 10, 11. Here's midnight. Not much happening here. As we move into Tuesday morning, though, we do have storms developing across Illinois here as they push our way. Here's 5 a.m. Eastern, 6, 7, 8. Really not much happening at all on this model for any time on Monday, period, which is good news. So I'm looking at pretty much a dry forecast here with a chance of a passing shower or storm increasing as we get toward Tuesday morning. Our concern here at Indiana Weather Online and also ISCN, we are more focused and more concerned into that Tuesday afternoon time frame. And the reason for that is the front is slowed down just a bit from earlier thinking this morning, and that is letting us build storm fuel back up into the state of Indiana, and that storm fuel fuels storms for later on in the afternoon. So here's 8 a.m. in the morning. Walk you guys through. Here's 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and then here's 11 a.m. We have a nice complex of storms being shown here on the model for places like Terre Haute, down toward Vincennes, maybe down toward Evansville. That general area here at that 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central time frame. That's going to push eastward here. Here's noon Eastern, 1 p.m., and then 2 p.m. that's cleared out into Ohio, but we still have a chance of a few storms behind that, as we still have some little pop-up cells there trying to get going behind that line. So perhaps a secondary round possible. Going to a different forecast model to go over the exact same future radar idea here. This is not a exact detailed we'll say gospel truth forecast, but as we move into the evening hours Monday, we're going to notice storms are nowhere to be found in Indiana. So the dry day tomorrow, pleasant, warm, a little bit muggy. But as we get toward that Tuesday morning time frame, here comes this model showing a similar picture close to 5 or 6 a.m. Eastern in the morning on Tuesday. That's going to be our first chance at a scattered shower or storm across the west half of Indiana. Here is 8 a.m. on Tuesday morning Eastern. As we get into the afternoon hours here, here's right around 11 o'clock to noon. We're noticing storms developing there along that cold front. Here's noon Eastern. A pretty potent looking cell there, pretty potent line really. Stretches from about Kokomo down to about the Vincennes area. That does push eastward as the early afternoon period continues onward. So what we're noticing here, and the takeaway of this, is the SPC does continue. Go back here to the actual Indiana look. There you go. The SPC does continue the north and west half of Indiana in a thunderstorm risk, perhaps a severe storm late Monday. But this outlook technically on Monday goes up until 8 a.m. Eastern Tuesday morning, and then it switches over to Tuesday's outlook, which is right here. So between the overnight hours, we could have a stray shower or storm, maybe a stray severe storm as early, or as late, should I say, as 8 a.m. And this outlook here I just showed you guys is still valid. So that is why that marginal risk is in place. There are going to be no storms, no showers in the area for Monday afternoon, evening. It's going to be a dry day, pleasant day. The risk is later on into really Tuesday is what we should be communicating here. But I know there's a lot of talk about Monday night. There's not much going on. Focus remains on Tuesday morning and also Tuesday afternoon for those multiple rounds possible. Now, in terms of hazards, what we're kind of looking at in terms of wind, hail, tornadoes, our concern with this primary line here, if this is actually going to come to fruition, mainly a wind and a hail threat. There's a lot of surface fuel here for instability to really kick in and really get these storms fired up and going. There's a lot of wind shear here, but the wind shear we have is more so going in one direction than it is turning with height. And that's going to limit our potential mainly to a wind risk and a low-end tornado risk. Now, I'm not saying that there's not going to be any tornadoes tomorrow, because there is a low chance for those. Although the wind and the hail risk throughout the day tomorrow is higher than the overall risk is for tornadoes. So, number one risk, damaging winds, potentially those that could be over 70 miles per hour. Also, large hail possible over, we're going to say over $half size possible. We could see larger than that. And then the risk for a tornado or two is there, although overall concern at this point in time is not overly high. All right, that goes for pretty much the entire state of Indiana. I think the slight risk here from the SPC is well placed. I would highlight more so from Terre Haute to Lafayette to Fort Wayne, and then points south and east of this line, really with the highest concern. But I can't forget you guys up here in Northwest Indiana. But as of right now, it's model guidance. I do think that risk is a little bit higher off to the south and to the east based on what I see here. All right, that is your overall outlook here. Overall, it's going to be a nice muggy day tomorrow. Storms come later on overnight into Tuesday morning. Could come in rounds. Should see a first round in the morning hour, second round later on in the afternoon. We could see that. We could see one round. So a lot of different scenarios here at play. Overall, we're going to keep you guys updated. Stay tuned in here to local news as well as us here at IWO. We'll keep you guys updated on all the forecasts and all the latest data. I will say this before I take questions. The Central Indiana weather radios will not be operational between Monday at least until Wednesday. That is due to critical upgrades that NWS is making to their systems. So I will repeat that. If you have a weather radio and you live in the central part of Indiana, it will not sound for warnings or watches. Please have alternate ways to receive those warnings. An app like the FEMA app or the Red Cross emergency app or WeatherBug. There's also ES alerts built into your phone. If you have those toggled on, you're great. That's good. Also, local news like us, your local broadcast meteorologists. Those are great ways to receive warnings alternatively to weather radio. So please keep that in mind, that the radios on between Monday and Wednesday will not sound for the central part of Indiana. All right, I'm going to pop into chat here. If you guys got questions, now is the time to ask them. I'm going to take your guys' questions. We'll be on here for, we'll say, about 10 or 15 minutes at least. And again, we are streaming live to Facebook and YouTube on both of our platforms. So feel free if you want to watch on either one. We are simultaneously broadcasting to both. Questions, guys. Let's go ahead and pop in chat here. We got Rick, got Joanne, Jeff, Susan, Dawn, Lean, Derek. I see on the NAM 3K model that there is CAPE values between 2 and 3,000, some spots between 3 and 4,000. The NAM likely is overdoing that just a smidge. I think our CAPE values are going to be dependent on how these rounds play out. So what I mean by that is if we see round 1 here early in the morning hours, that's not going to really allow much time for storm fuel to build in and get those CAPE values up that high. If we don't have that first round, I could definitely see CAPE values pushing 2 to 3,000 in the state. But it's going to come down to how this plays out. Good evening, Naomi. No, I can't talk. Good evening, Naomi. Good to see you in here. Just want to reiterate to any viewers in the chat thread that the weather radio, yep, I just covered that, Stormlord. Thank you for putting that in chat. He says, or they say, the weather radios across central Indiana will be out beginning Monday through Wednesday, which will hamper warning processes for Tuesday. That is absolutely correct. I just went over that. So again, if you're just joining us, weather radios will not be operational across central Indiana between Monday until at least Wednesday. So make sure you have alternate ways to receive those warnings if you are living in the central part of the state. Can you do a time lapse for Tuesday, asks Hannah. I'm assuming you mean the radar hour by hour, and I can do that, yes. So starting with, we'll start right here at Monday night. So Monday night, Monday night should be clear, maybe a passing shower overnight into Tuesday morning. Here's Tuesday at 7 a.m. Eastern. Every time I'm going to give you here is an Eastern time, all right? 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Here is noon. 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, midnight. We're back into Wednesday morning now as additional storms develop further south there close to the Ohio River. So these storms could come in rounds, guys. Could see multiple rounds of these. Is there a general time frame for the best timing of severe weather? I'm trying to put the word out on my Facebook page. So Stormlord, I would suggest anywhere between Tuesday, we're going to say 6 a.m. Eastern, all the way up until probably midnight or perhaps just after midnight, Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. So pretty much all day Tuesday, starting around sunrise is what I'd say. What is the biggest threat in central Indiana? The biggest threat, wind, damaging wind up to 70 plus miles per hour, as well as large hail. Those are your two primary risks. There is a lower risk for a tornado. It is not zero, but it's much lower than the wind and hail risk is currently. We're going to wait until Monday plays out because that could also shift and change slightly. I'm not expecting an outbreak of tornadoes across the state like we had, about a month ago or so. But I do think the wind and hail threat is your primary risk tomorrow, followed by a tornado or two possible. Winds for Fort Wayne. Okay, so the wind threat for Fort Wayne, I go ahead and group you into everybody else. I think 60 to 70 plus miles per hour is possible. Although I will say, based on tonight's models, I do think the risk for severe weather is highest off to your south. Going at the model here, just kind of showing you guys what I'm talking about here. Fort Wayne, you're kind of close to it, but you're on the northern edge of that line here. So I do think the risk is much higher if you go further south here. You may be pushing that northern fringe of that line. We'll have to watch. It could shift. It probably will shift. Either way, I think the risk is a little higher off to your south overall, but still a risk nonetheless to be taken seriously. We have a track meet Wednesday, or sorry, I keep saying Wednesday. Daniel says we have a track meet Tuesday evening. Fingers are crossed it passes through. Yeah, that's pretty much the heart of it, unfortunately. Although if we get round one, it may try to suck the instability out of the atmosphere for round two. So you may be dry. You may look out there. But I do think all day Tuesday there is a risk here for multiple rounds of severe weather in the state. Would a tornado threat be more of a brief spin-up type of event? Asked Nick. Thanks, Nick, for the question. And the answer would be yes. Overall, I don't see a large concern for supercells putting down tornadoes. I think they're going to be more of a line segment, quick spin-up type tornadoes throughout the Tuesday time frame. Overall concern is on the lower end for those, but I don't expect any strong or long track tornadoes as of tonight's models guidance. Going over the day 3 outlook here, go ahead and zoom into Indiana. There you go. So anywhere really in the state of Indiana on Tuesday has a threat for severe weather. In yellow, it is highest. If you have friends and family across the border in Ohio, there's actually an enhanced risk from about that just to the east of Dayton through Columbus, all the way up through Cleveland, Youngstown area, all the way through Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania, up to the northeast. A enhanced risk in place over there. But for us here in Indiana, we are solidly the entire state. Doesn't matter if you're from Gary, South Bend, Evansville, Corridon, doesn't matter where you are. The risk for severe weather exists on Tuesday. I do think it is highest in yellow and especially probably south of Lafayette. That is what I'm seeing based on current model guidance. If that changes, we of course will post updates to the page. We'll have a forecast out tomorrow morning for you guys to kind of ponder over. So feel free to tune back in. And we'll likely do another briefing as well at 7 or 8, probably 8 p.m. again tomorrow evening for that Tuesday time frame. So feel free to tune back in tomorrow as well. Rhonda asks, will the enhanced risk move into Indiana? I wouldn't rule that out just yet, although right now I think there's some uncertainty there that kind of plays a factor into why it's not already enhanced risk. If we have a morning round that comes through, it'll likely kill off any substantial secondary threat later on in the afternoon and evening. So if we have more confidence that one of their two lines is going to be more significant in nature, I could see them pulling the enhanced risk further back west for portions of the state. All right, any other questions, guys? I don't see anything else in chat to answer, so if you have questions, now is your time to pop in and ask. Faith asks, we want to go to Goshen tomorrow from Orland. Will be okay? Yes, Faith, absolutely. Go enjoy. It's going to be a warm, muggy day tomorrow. I'll reiterate one more time that the risk for severe weather or rain or storms in general tomorrow is quite low across the state. It'll be dry, it'll be warm, and also be muggy. The risk for storms increases overnight. Really, it's centered around Tuesday sunrise to Tuesday sunset. So really, it should be focusing in on Tuesday more than we are Monday night. The only reason that you're seeing talk about Monday night is because the SPC risk here, right here, it's valid until 8 a.m. Tuesday morning. So we could have some storms around that sunrise time frame. That is why you see that risk in place. Overall, your Monday tomorrow is going to be nice across the state, dry, warm, muggy, probably windy as well. But overall, no storms, no severe weather expected tomorrow. The risk increases for your Tuesday. Why can't they reschedule the weather radio update? That is a good question that I do not have a solid answer to. I do know that the overall upgrades they are doing are being done across the nation, and they're done on a rotational schedule, and they were pre-planned months ahead of time. So what was planned for this week was planned probably months ago. Unfortunately, the timing doesn't really line up. They could cancel it. I don't know. They could. Yes. I just don't know that for sure. So I don't have the information on that. But what I can tell you is that this was pre-planned. It wasn't something that just came up all of a sudden and said, oh, we got to do upgrades, guys. Sorry. This is pre-planned. Hannah, enhance probably if they were to pull it back. Again, more confidence is needed before they do that. But if they do pull the enhanced, it may look like something like this. Something like that. Kind of pull it back further west there. But I think the overall confidence for that is low at this point. Personally, I am okay with the slight risk from the SPC, just because there's some uncertainty with how many rounds we're going to get. And keep in mind as well that each round that comes through, rain and clouds will stabilize the atmosphere. So if we get an early morning round, that will stabilize the atmosphere temporarily, and then the focus becomes how much storm fuel can build in behind those clouds, behind that rain. If we don't get those morning showers or storms, and we're clear in the morning, that allows more storm fuel to be built up, and that would then, I would assume, create a much higher risk later on in the afternoon and evening for your Tuesday, which would then, I would say, introduce an enhanced risk as a possibility. We'll see what they do, though. Stormlord asks, will you go live when the watch is issued, or do you just go live when a warning gets issued? I intend on sharing this link, but I want to know the best time would be to do that for you. Okay, so our policy here at IWO is any severe or tornado warning in the state of Indiana, we are live for. Any watches will be posted automatically. I may do like a brief live stream on my phone that kind of talks about what we're kind of tracking really quick, like a 2 or 3 minute video. But our live coverage will begin at the first warning, or when storms, like for example, if storms are pushing in from Bloomington, Illinois, we're getting close to Indiana border, we know they're going to be severe, we'll go live at that point. Even though they're not in Indiana yet, we'll still go live in anticipation for that. But once it is live, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, and also X. So feel free to follow along. We are live for any and all severe storms here in the state of Indiana. So, but yeah, like Julie said in the comments here, if a watch is issued, it's automatically posted to our page. We have a software that does it for us, which is really cool. It's really handy. All right, any other questions, guys? Been live here for about 25 minutes, so feel free to drop them in chat here. But if no more questions are asked here, I'll go ahead and do a recap, and I'll pop out of here, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. But overall, I'll give you guys one last chance here. I know I'm a little bit delayed here on my streaming software, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into the recap here. If you guys got questions, drop them now in chat. I'll get to them here in just a second or two. So starting with the overall outlook here, I'm going to reiterate once more that there is a low risk for a storm overnight Monday into Tuesday. Your entire day tomorrow, which is Monday, will be dry, a little bit muggy, and warm out there. So get out there and enjoy it. There's really no risk for severe weather at all through the afternoon or evening on Monday. After midnight, especially towards sunrise Tuesday, that risk for storms begins to increase. The SPC has the entire state of Indiana. Doesn't matter if you're in Gary, South Bend, Angola, Corydon, Evansville. Doesn't matter if you're between those areas. You are in a risk for severe weather Tuesday, starting around that sunrise time frame. Hazards, damaging winds, primary concern. Some could be over 70 miles per hour. Large hail, some could be over $half size. A few tornadoes possible in the state, but a much lower risk for tornadoes than it is wind and hail. Time frame on this overall event, again, going through the entirety of Monday. Here's Monday. Here's 10 a.m. Monday, and there is 10 midnight Monday. So nothing in the state here tomorrow at all. Keep that. I'm going back and forth. Sunrise, sunset. There's nothing happening tomorrow. Moving into Tuesday morning, though. Here we go. Tuesday, we're going to pause it right here. Here is 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Here's 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 noon Eastern, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8, 9, 10, 11, midnight, and now we're into Wednesday morning, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and 3 a.m. there. So Tuesday could have numerous rounds of showers and storms across the state. The entire state is at a risk currently for severe weather, although personally here at IWO and ISCN, we believe the risk is a little higher off south of Lafayette, south of Fort Wayne area as of this time. That could shift. We'll have to see. But right now, I think the risk is a little bit higher off to the south. I do not see any other questions here in chat, so I'm going to pop out of here. We'll be live tomorrow. We're going to say 8 p.m. Eastern once again for a briefing here on ISCN and IWO, so feel free to tune back in. We'll be live for any severe warnings in the state come Tuesday. You guys have a great Sunday evening. Enjoy a nice, dry, warm, muggy day out there tomorrow. And make sure you have ways to receive warnings on Tuesday. And if you live in central Indiana, please be aware the weather radios are down during Tuesday's event. You'll need to find alternative ways to receive those warnings. Have a good night. Enjoy the evening. Enjoy the day tomorrow. We'll catch you guys tomorrow for updates on the page as well